Here is a snapshot of what I see when I walk round my home. We moved here mainly because of the animals that we live with and the views and the sunsets. I hope you like it. We share our lives with lots of animals at ToadHall, domestic, wild, and of course the farm animals, horses and the like. And when I go out of my gate in the morning and walk up the garden, the sound of the animals are all around me. I trudge this garden path at least twice a day to feed the animals and care for them, muck out the horses. The tasks are never ending. These sounds personify what I really enjoy about living at ToadHall. These are my ducks. They're actually muscovies, but most people think they're geese. They're two men because the women died out years ago from all their attentions. My first task of every day is to feed my animals. I start with the pigeons and the ducks, and then I move through to the chickens, the goats, the horses, and if I have cows, obviously the cows. For me, the most peaceful sound in the world are horses and goats quietly munching their hay and the pigeons cooing, especially my horse Roxy, who at the moment is my pride and joy. The farm isn't always a quiet place. This is the sound of the threshing machine, which is in the room above the stables. I live next door to a farm run by a husband and wife partnership, and they're called Barry and Roma. Roma is the local horse whisperer. She has a cure for every known horse ailment or even any other animal's ailment. If you've got a problem with an animal, go to Roma. If foot and mouth did come to this farm, it could mean the end of an era. If you are prepared to brave the mud and the roar of the wind, you can walk a bridle path which takes you all round the fields of the house, up on the moor, over the valley, and up through the village, and then back up to the house. This is this walk that I want to take you on now. Just listen to the roar of the wind up on the moor. Here is Jaffa the pony in front of the mine shaft where he was the subject of a dramatic rescue a few years ago. He was featured on the BBC programme 999 Rescue. Here is some of the original footage from that programme.
distressing situations involve animals that go missing and lie injured and undetected for hours, even days. One of those stories happened in 1997, here in this field, an extraordinary rescue filmed by a local news team.
Fire Officer Stuart Whitworth was lowered 100 feet down the shaft to find out if Jaffa really was unhurt.
Well, I couldn't believe it when I got down to the bottom.
The sling attached, the long of hauling Jaffa to the surface began. With firefighters, Veritee and other villagers all working together, there was ample pulling power. But the ropes were becoming twisted and friction was beginning to fray the hessian until, with feet to go, they snapped.
Keep it going. Keep it going. He'll take it out. He'll take it out. Steady.
Finally, after 30 hours in darkness, having survived a 100-foot fall twice, Jaffa was free.
Let's get it back out the way. Hang up.
Incredibly, Jaffa had suffered no broken bones, no internal injuries, and beyond a few cuts and bruises, his major concern was hunger.
This is the shaft as it is today. As you can see, we have made an attempt to fence it off and cover it over, but we live in dread of the horses or goats falling into it again. This is Daisy and I winding our weary way back up the hill to Porkellis. I have often rode this route myself, starting about 14 years ago and about 4 horses ago. And if my horse Roxy wasn't currently in foal, this is how I might look today. Porkellis is an old village with a long history behind it, but unfortunately there are few records, either pictorial or otherwise, of this history. However, I have found some old photographs. This is the old wheelwrights and what it used to look like. This was taken about 1896. This is the shop and pub in Porkellis as it is today, and this is what it would have looked like in the 1880s. Notice how bleak and windswept the countryside is, and how there are still rocks outside the houses. Porkellis was truly a very rough place to live in those days, and some say it still is. Here are some other important buildings in the village. This is the chapel, with its unique monkey puzzle trees in the garden. The chapel is a listed building because inside is an oak-built Wesleyan pulpit with worship in the round. It cannot be demolished, but it's now derelict and falling down. And this is what is known as the Old Tin Hut, a very important building that was used in the 30s as a cinema, as a home guard hut, as an institute and meeting place for the villagers, and now it's about to be sold off as a building plot, much to some villagers' dismay. We are now on our way home. We have done a complete circle of ToadHall, taking in the village of Porkellis. It should be remembered that the rural peace of this area is a recent thing. At one time it was a devastated industrial landscape, and the evidence of this is all around. Sometimes I like to imagine what the views and sights from my house would have been 150 years ago. The landscape would have been desolate, with craters from open cast mining and spoil heaps everywhere. The spoil heaps are still there. They're on the hill behind me and in my fields. There would have been miners trudging up my lane day and night to get to and from work. There would also be no trees. They'd all been burnt long ago. There would be the clank and the grating of the overhead tramway, which took tin ore from the moor behind ToadHall over the house and down into the valley to be processed. This would rattle and bang 24 hours a day, and all over the village you could hear it. ToadHall was the account house, where the miners would take their tin, and they would be paid, and they could only buy from the shop. In fact, it was the house where they were abused and misused by the mine owners. It's very hard for any of us to understand what it once was like, but on a quiet day, I see the shadowy ghosts of the miners trudging past me up my lane to work, and I hear the clank of the tramway overhead. On this kind of day, I sometimes think I might know what it was like, but probably not.